All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Team Building Podcast. If the voice sounds somewhat similar, but just a little bit different, it's because it is me, Andy Cuny. I am the success manager for Elite Real Estate Systems and also as well as Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group. I'm Jeff Cohn's direct report. Jeff is out on his 3-week road trip with his family. So yes, I can always tell when he's putting in some windshield time and traveling to a different state because that's when my phone starts to blow up. Because he's got plenty of time to start making sure things are happening. That is one of the things that we like to talk about here, obviously, on the Team Building Podcast, because guess what? If you build the team the right way, you have the success, you put in the time, you make the right hires, you make all the right decisions, you too can run a real estate team and go on a 3-week road trip without having to do anything. So we have a absolutely wonderful guest. I'm really excited to find out and dig deep and find out a little bit more. Brie, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you reaching out. My name is Brie Stevens. I am with the Lake Life Realty team in the Lakes region of New Hampshire with Keller Williams. And we are a small niche team here in the Lakes region. And we're all young, enthusiastic agents and team members. And that's kind of the difference that we bring to the table in our area. And last year, we wrapped up the year doing just over 36 million in volume, 57 units. So that was great. Our average price point with that was 630,000 for the average sold price.
You just made a lot of people really jealous.
Yes.
630,000 average price point.
Yes. Yeah. The Lakes region's a beautiful place. And what's nice is we get a big portfolio of types of properties from, $5 million properties on the waterfront to, 30,000 plots of land in farm areas. So it's definitely a lot of different properties. So it's fun to do that and market with that and get to see all different types of properties.
Right. It doesn't get boring then.
No, it's a challenge, but it's exciting. We love what we do. And it's definitely, something that we're proud of doing and the product we put out. So I've been doing this now full-time 4 years. Okay. And 2 years I started part-time as an assistant, unlicensed assistant back then. But I grew up before that in the hospitality industry as a manager at a local restaurant and didn't like my hours, didn't like, not being in control of what I was doing. Mm-hmm. Even as an assistant, I saw a void in the market that I wanted to bring to the table and how you need to adapt to the technology changes that are given to agents. And I took that and ran with that and then started the team. Okay, so there's a lot right there that I want to get into. Yes. So real quick, you just won an award. What was your award? 30 Under 30 in 2018 from Realtor Magazine.
And what magazine?
Realtor Magazine.
Realtor Magazine. What is the 30 Under 30?
30 Under 30 is a group of recognized agents who went through a process with judges, multiple rounds, to be recognized for what we're doing with either our communities in the business and different things that have led us to success at such a young age in the industry.
Very cool. So under 30 years old, have your own team. You're doing obviously over 30 million. I think you said 57 units and how much million?
36 million last year.
36 million. So 57 units, 36 million under the age of 30. And I want to stress that because we have a lot of people out there who are nervous, don't know if they should do it, right? And we know that it can be done. We have another successful under 30 is Logan Boyce, right? He's one of our success managers here with Elite Real Estate Systems, 29, and he's already exited the business, right? And he's CEO model now, and he's got 14 agents and you know what I mean? All of those types of things. So I want to make sure that people listening are not limited or believe or don't have the limiting belief, right? That they can't do it because of a certain age. And something that kind of struck with me when you were speaking was, I think you kind of glossed over it because you didn't go too much into details, but you said that you saw the change in technology happening when you were a unlicensed assistant, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that you were probably an unlicensed assistant for maybe a more veteran agent, right?
Yes.
And you saw how maybe it was hurting their business and they weren't taking advantage of the technology that was out there?
Yeah, introducing back then, that was when Trulia, Zillow, you had to have an online profile on all of these sites.
Mm-hmm.
You had to know how to play their game,
Yep.
and what tools they're putting out there so that your listing comes at the top of the search results on their pages. And how to play that was so important and was changing versus the traditional method that they had been used to and successful doing. But I saw things quickly changing.
I love it. And that is one of, well, A, not only seeing it change, which is, you know what I mean? Not everybody can see it change, right? So that's kudos to you. But then B, being willing to take advantage of it, right? And put yourself out there. That right there as well is amazing. The one thing I would like to point out is everybody always talks about, they're like, oh, I do so much work, you know, selling real estate, running a team, all these types of things is so much work. Well, what allows you to stay at the forefront of the technology, right? Or of the changing market, all of those types of things is being able to run that CEO model, right? And being able to now have the time to actually go out. Everybody's like, oh, Jeff doesn't do anything now. He works 5 hours a week. All Jeff does is recruit and meet with people to find out what they're doing best so he can turn around and bring it back to our team, right? If he's selling real estate and slinging away doing 100 units a year, right, and in a $200,000 price point, he doesn't have the time, right, to make sure that our team is positioned to do the next thing. And so, and so obviously your team has someone who's willing to do that right now and has shown that they're willing to do that. So everybody can kind of relate to where you're at. We know the numbers that you're crushing it. You have the great price point. We know your market. Tell us about your team, okay? First of all, like how many agents do you have? How many admin do you have? Support staff? And then we'll kind of dive into how you created it and the steps along the way.
Yep. So there's myself as the lead agent. I have 2 other team agents that buy and do buyers and listings together. And then I have an executive assistant and I have a VA virtual assistant out in the Philippines. And that comprises of our team.
Okay. So you have transaction coordinator, you said, right?
Nope.
Say that again. You have 2 agents, a TA.
EA.
So you have 2 agents, a VA. Was there another person in there?
Yep, the VA, the virtual assistant, and then the executive assistant.
Executive assistant, that's the one I was missing. Okay, and you allow your other 2 agents to do buy side and list side. Has it always been that way?
It was not. Nope.
Okay.
Going by the model, I had done 12 million in sales on my own once I went into full time, and realized I can't show and buyers and show my listings on the same Saturday to all of these clients at that volume. So that is when I needed to expand the team, and not by the model. I made my first hire another agent versus an executive assistant.
Right.
So that was the leverage that I did get to have. And he would take a lot of the buyers and start that way. And then going by the model, not more than 6 months later, another agent came in. So still no EA. And had the 2 agents and the 3 of us, and we did have it buyer listings. I was just listings.
And they quickly buy sides.
Yep. And then we quickly came to realize clients wanted to do both. They wanted to sell and buy, and they wanted to continue working with the person they had the relationship with. And also we're staying in the general geographic location of which their agent specializes in. So there's this big lake around us, and we kind of split that off geographically. So we do that as far as the lead distribution goes, and they do buy and list. And they keep that relationship with who they've made that and continue to do so.
Okay, and we found, and you tell me if this is true, well, it's a limited sample size, but it's your 2 agents, right, that you know very well, did it help with retention, being able to offer them the opportunity to list those homes?
Yes. Yep. It definitely did. Yeah. They get, to see 2 sides of it, and have that in their schedule. And it is about the client relationship most. So to be able to help them out and not just pass them on to someone else was something that we were struggling with doing the buyer specialist, listing specialist. And that made a big change for us and keeping the clients happy as well.
Perfect. Because then you get repeat clients, you get referral business. That's huge.
Yes.
So another thing that I want to ask about there when it comes to that is when they're doing both sides like that, I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong or agree, but I feel like it's a lot of unused experience and knowledge if they only get to work one side, right? So if they're working the listing, they have a much better idea of how the buy side works, right? Now, because they're on the other side and they get to use that knowledge and vice versa. Did you find that? Did you see that their experience or talent level maybe is what I'm looking for grew by being able to do that?
Yes, absolutely. And reminds you when you're on one side or the other what it was just like on the other side.
Correct.
And how that process is. Because when I switched last year, mostly listings, this year I switched back to both.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me, oh yeah, like I've kind of forgotten some of this, what's going on. And it keeps that together and does help as a strategy on both sides.
Very cool. Good. Okay, so now tell me, everybody wants to know, we're going to jump into what do you do for lead gen, and then also what do you pay out for splits. So let's talk about lead gen first. Tell us all your different types of lead gen.
Lead gen, for us, we are the social media gurus in our area.
Good.
We are the local go-tos, and that's how they merge together. So what we do on Instagram and mostly Facebook, those two platforms, is and Instagram stories, Facebook stories, is we have a big following, and we have consistent content, which is key, and we schedule that out. And it's a mix of not just for sale, sold. It is a mix of useful information about the local area, about the real estate market, about the team, so they develop a relationship with us on a personal level. They get to know us. And then we're promoting at the same time businesses. So what we did is we created a business plan and videos with local businesses, whether they're new or just, a new location, anything. Anyone who wants to have a video, we would love to share their story and what they offer. And we should do those videos, put them on social media, and it's kind of what we're known for doing now. We're creating that relationship now with the businesses, and in turn, having that connection to people for resources that they are in need of, whether it's a local boat marina, whether it's a boutique in the area, a new restaurant. We're the ones that have that relationship, and then they come to us, and we provide that video content as well to promote them, and in turn they help promote us.
Exactly. Well, then that's an amazing way to gain following or gain traction, is to align yourself with other people who already have followers, right?
Yes.
So now you're automatically connected with their people. If it's a restaurant that families go to on Friday night when they take the kids out to eat, right? Nope. Oh, they're aligned with this real estate agent. Now I start following you. Now all of a sudden I'm in your funnel, right? I love the fact that you do. Now I have a question. You said you put out consistent content, which can be time consuming. Who does this content? Is it you doing it? Is your executive assistant? Do you guys share it? Do you have your BA do it? How does that work?
It was me up until we hired the executive assistant, and she creates the schedule and puts that out and has the systems and knows what content we want for each day. So certain days, at least we put together, this is the post we want. Thursday is always a throwback Thursday to a local postcard in the area, talking about the history. Friday is a feature Friday, flashback Friday. So each day has their different thing, and then the rest, sold, just listed, business videos, gets scheduled in so it's spaced out appropriately.
Gotcha.
But also taking advantage of what days are best, what times are best for certain types of posts, and that's all the executive assistant.
Okay, and so now you're doing all this social media stuff with Instagram, Facebook. How are you turning that into lead generation?
Well, what we do ask is that each team member is adding at least 30 connections on each of those platforms a week and engaging with them. So the most important part is the engagement back, whether they're commenting, asking a question, following up, and watching who those people are that continuously come back, and they're reaching out and messaging us through those platforms now, asking us. And what we're doing that we switched to this year is we're not giving away everything, especially if it's a new property coming soon. We won't list the exact address or the exact price point. We want them to reach out, and that's been huge for us to know who in our audience actually is active and at what level of engagement. So for that is the lead gen from that point. And then on their personal, we ask that we do a certain number of posts each week on those platforms to show who we are, not just as realtors, but have that in between. We're dog lovers, we're wine enthusiasts, whatever our hobbies are, travelers. Them get to know us and have that on our personal. It's not just all business. Okay,
so then you have your executive assistant, and she is putting out the consistent content, and I'm assuming you have meetings with her on a weekly basis, and she has like a tentative plan of, this is what I do, right? I have it every week, but you will sit down and I'm assuming you have a meeting with her on a weekly basis, him or her.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
We all do a team. We all go over what videos, what the businesses are going to be happening, what's scheduled. If anyone has any ideas of people they have recently worked with and want to reach out to, she'll make all of those connections and ask each of us on the team who would like to do what. So, it's not just always me in the video, it's the other two agents.
Perfect. I love that.
So, yeah.
I love that. Okay. So, that does two things. One, it gets everybody involved, right? It gets everybody to buy in. Okay. So they have a vested interest in the success of it. Two, it also allows them to get outside their comfort zone, and they'll start doing those things on their own Facebook page and their own personal pages. Now, the other thing I love that you pointed out is, yep, you have all this content, but you require them, right, to now utilize the content that you're actually putting out there. And I love the fact. So do they sit down and they will report how many connections they had each week? Do you do that? Perfect. And what does that look like, just real quick?
Pretty much it's just a Google sheets on Google off of our email, and they put in 1 through 30, and whether it was Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and the person's name and who that connection was. So what I do, I go through, I'm not sitting in front of Google Sheets every day. I'll just screenshot on my phone, oh, I followed, I connected, and screenshot it. And then on Monday I come in, see all that I needed, make sure I'm at the 30. If not, reach out, make those connections, and then know that I reached that for that week.
So you hold yourself to that same standard of 30 as well?
I do.
Oh, I love it. Isn't it so much easier to hold other people accountable if you're doing the same thing yourself?
Yes, and it's actually attainable.
Yes.
We have similar workloads, but that, what you're asking is possible, and you're not, reaching for the moon. It's something, if you can do it, they can too.
Yes, and I will say that was one of the things that helped me transition from just being one of the top agents on our team to actually transition into the success manager role on the team. Was I was doing everything that I was asking the agents to do at a high level already, right? While asking them to do the same things. So it's really, really hard, and the excuses start to melt away when somebody comes in and they're doing half as much as you with twice as much time, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh. And it really, really helped, right? It helped them become honest with what they wanted to accomplish. And I was okay if they didn't want to accomplish as much as I was accomplishing or another agent on the team was accomplishing, right? They didn't need to. They didn't need to have the same goals. But at least now they were starting to be honest with what they wanted to accomplish. And that really, really helped. Okay, so now the next question that everybody's going to want to know about, what are the splits that you pay out and for your team? And is it different based off of a lead that you as the team give them, or something that they generate on their own, or a buy side to list side? Break all that down for us to let us know a little bit about how it works for you guys.
Yep, it's pretty much always the same unless it's like an immediate family member or the closest of closest family friend. But pretty much whether it's their only generation or from the team, it's the same split. It just differs buyer or seller. So with the buy side, there's a higher split for the agent versus the list side. And reason being, the cost up front is substantially more than buy side. Buyers a lot of time and consumption on that end, and certain lead generation brings in a cost to that. But what we do on the marketing side on the listings is substantial in an expense. Okay. So that's how we differentiate that. So then you have that split, and then because we have the two agents, by pointing, because like one sits here and one sits here, we have the two agents, and they get a portion of each other's because we're always helping each other out. So whether it's an inspection, picking up here in New Hampshire, we have radon in the air sometimes.
Oh, yes.
Radon air tests. So, picking up that, covering a showing here and there to make the schedule work. Everyone's compensated for every transaction, regardless of whose it is. So they each get a little piece of the pie for what's coming in. And then as they grow in volume, they also are going to reach certain milestones where that split gets heavier and heavier for them.
Now, does that split get heavier and heavier that year? And then does it start back over the following year?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yep. So
and
once
you'd be willing to share what those numbers look like what the split starts at, what it goes to, that kind of stuff?
Yep. So really it's total volume. So for total volume, we have a tiered system from 0 to 5 million. Okay. So in that tier, you have a buy and a list. And the buy is it gets kind of complicated. Sure. You have 0.45, 0.05 for that slice for the other agent. And then the rest goes to the house. So 0.5. to the house.
Okay, so
And that's for the
45% to
5.
the agent, 5% to the other partner, right?
Yep.
And then 50% to the team.
Yep. And that is for the buy side.
Okay.
For the list, it's different. You still have that 0.05 for the other agent, but then the house, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, 0.35. Is that right? 0.35 and 0.65. Oh no, sorry, 0.3, 0.05, and 0.65.
And who gets the 0.65? The house?
The house.
Perfect. Yep. And that's because you guys do all the marketing and cover everything up front.
Exactly. Yep.
Perfect.
And then, so that's from 0 to 5 million. Those numbers change once you get from 5 to 10 and 10 to 15. And then there's, and then
how much do they go up each tier? How much is the split?
5%
okay.
on your own. So that 5 for the other person stays. That's always, that doesn't change or grow. It's just your split. So that 0.45 takes from the house, it goes to 0.5, and the house takes 0.45. Same with, they're taking 0.3 for the listing. Once they go over, they're increasing 5% to 0.35.
Okay. And does it ever cap?
Yes. So once they've gotten to 15 million, then that's where they're going to stay. Okay.
Perfect. So once they get above 15 million, so whether they do 15 million or 20 million, they cap. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. And so where did you find these 2 agents?
The first hire, I was meeting with Keller Williams. We have a coach that's available to us. So the coach and I were meeting for lunch, and I was like, how on earth do I find someone who's interested in working with me? And what do I need to do?
Right.
I need help, and I need it yesterday.
Right.
And he was like, oh, and we're just talking, and all of a sudden, this guy who I just finished a deal with walks in with his little golden retriever puppy. And I was petting the puppy. Oh, good to see you. And he was like, well, what about him? And I was like, I don't know. Where do I start? And it happened to wait 2 weeks after I had saw him. We had just done a deal together. It was his first deal that he had ever done. He was with a different brokerage. I waited 2 weeks to called him, and he had just been in a meeting with another brokerage to switch where he was.
So timing.
And timing, always.
Yes.
And he told me he had 24 hours to make a decision because he was going to go with someone else within that time frame. I had no business plan. I had no compensation model. I had absolutely nothing except a cry for help type of scenario.
Yep.
And basically, I just pitched myself as I do to clients, and he decided to work with me.
Nice.
And then it was imperative to put a contract, put a business model into place. And then quickly after, he introduced me to someone I had known who was was a dietitian nutrition industry. So totally unrelated to real estate, but a, sweet, talkative, high energy person that he had said, she's looking for, something else to do. And I had known her from the restaurant. She had worked at the restaurant that I had been working at as well. She came on board, and then there were 3.
That's awesome.
We desperately needed that EA, as should be your first hire. And she came along a year later, after a year and a half almost later.
Now, where did you find your executive assistant? Because everybody's going to lean in really close now. Where did you find the executive assistant?
Indeed. Indeed.com. I had multiple people reach out. It was overwhelming. I knew it was going to be overwhelming. So what I did immediately is templated an email so that when they applied, I would immediately template this email of the steps that they needed to take in order to get an interview. That was a DISC assessment test on the Tony Robbins website.
Yep.
And then I had created on SurveyMonkey questionnaires and open-ended questions for them to reach out to. And I spent time online just searching what types of interview questions there were. So I had that already really up front. And that immediately wiped out half of the people who had interest. They weren't serious, weren't looking to do the work in order to apply. So from there, I assessed people who did fill out all that information, asked half of them to come in for an interview and do that interview with me. And once I did that one-on-one myself and had the second interview process with my 2 team agents to make sure that they had that connection and you got from their interview what I had gotten. And then we ranked the final 3 and made that hire.
You chose the winner.
Yes, we did.
That's right.
And she's just had her year anniversary with us.
Oh, very cool.
Yep, on
very
Monday.
Cool. I love that you just brought up Indeed. We actually just 2 weeks ago on our Thursday coaching call that we have with our team building clients, we just had one of our success managers. They are really heavy into recruiting with Indeed. They went from 6 agents to 25 agents in 18 months, strictly using Indeed. And she went through everything they do, from literally creating the ad all the way through the interview process. And yeah, it was really, really interesting. We're actually going to start implementing that here because we're doing a big recruiting push on our team as well. So it was really cool. I love the fact that people are utilizing those types of things.
Yes.
The only issue is that a lot of people are going to be out there listening to you right now saying, oh my God, yeah, I've heard of other people having success. I should do that. And then nothing will happen, right? So many times you want to be able to have somebody to do that kind of stuff for you. But nope, I completely understand. So this is really, really cool. So tell me, what is, do you have a CRM? We haven't talked much about technology, except for the online social media. Do you guys have a CRM? And if so, what is it?
We use Follow Up Boss.
Okay, Follow Up Boss. How long have you had it?
We haven't had it that long. It's maybe been almost 6 months. We switched. We were using what's called Brivity for a while. We still use Brivity on a transactional management basis.
Okay.
As far as, lead routing, what happens per each step of the transaction, that's still Brivity. But the CRM, we changed our website and integrated that into also our Facebook, and that was through Curator.
Okay.
And so Curator was our platform, and that introduced us to Follow Up Boss.
Okay. And do you guys do any online lead gen other than your Instagram? And I know you guys are following up with that and then having those leads entered in. Are you guys doing any sort of lead gen other than that?
We do Zillow. We still touch with Zillow. We've changed our strategy a little bit, how Zillow has changed as well, and where those marketing dollars are going. But we still do get things from there. But really, the other platforms is referrals from past clients, those sales, and I would say word of mouth, people going around because of the social media. And we involve ourselves heavily in networking. So when we set up the business plan with the team, we decided what boards, what committees we were going to be a part of and separate ourselves out.
And divide and conquer.
So each agent had to, choose what they were going to do. And I chose the Home Builder Association. And the Parade of Homes is a huge event in our area. So I'm on that as a chair. And then, example, our other agent, she joined the New Hampshire Boat Museum Committee and is a board of trustee. And the other is in the Economic Development and Business Platform. And, we keep adding to that list. I'm a planning board member with the town. And through those relationships, it's important to make those connections and, see how you can help.
Very cool. Okay, so one question, and I know I forgot to ask, I was looking at my list here to make sure I get everything in. I wanted to check, of the 57 units you guys did last year, how did that break down? How many were you and how many were each agent?
I'm trying to remember. Last year, I couldn't tell you to be spot on. I'll tell you this year, I'm looking to do 12 units, so 6 by 6 list as sold. And then the other team agents are looking to double that. So they're going to be listing 12, selling 12, and same for the other agent.
Now, is that each? 12 and 12 each? So 24 each? So 48, 60 units.
Yep.
Perfect. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, well, Brie, I absolutely appreciate you coming on. This was a really, really interesting conversation. I love to hear how, I guess one of my biggest takeaways is I always love hearing about different markets, A, right? And B, how you hired the agents first and then got that executive assistant. But to me, people, I feel, are inside their head too much and feel like they have to follow this roadmap. And they miss opportunities that, you know what I mean, sometimes walk right in front of them and let them pet their dog, right? Before, right? Exactly, because they're like, nope, I got to follow the plan. And you're Keller Williams, so Gary Keller always says, right, human capital first. Doesn't matter. If you find talent, you figure all the other stuff out, right? But do not pass up on talent because that's the most scarce resource out there.
Yes,
and
that's key.
You did exactly that. So I love it. I love it. You're like, you know what? I'm going to find the talent. I'll figure out ways to make it work after that.
Yep, and that was definitely key for us. And it's, we're the small group that's making the biggest impact right now in our area, which is huge.
Love it. Love it. And that's the thing too, is sometimes you have a business plan and it's so hard to find because that business plan is so rigid that it's hard to find talent, right, to then fit into that business plan, right? And then you turn away talent because they don't fit into your business plan. And I would much rather, they've heard me say this so many times when I'm on our coaching calls, is, you know what, find the talent and then create the position for them, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Every single time, it's got to be flexible. It's like your time blocking schedule. That thing has to be flexible for it to work. Same thing with your business plan, right? It's always talent first.
It's the hardest thing to find.
It
is the talent.
It's the hardest thing to find. And that's why, right, people will do everything else first. Oh, I'll do a business plan. I'll get my lead gen going. I'll get my CRM, because that's all the stuff they can control and is easy and replicatable. They leave the hardest thing, but yet the most important thing for last. And then that's where they run into problems. Yes. So I love it. Brie, you were amazing. Do this, because I know after listening to this, there's going to be some people who want to reach out to you and say, oh my God, I have a referral in New Hampshire that I want to send to you because obviously they're going to get well taken care of. Or I just want to call a mastermind with you for maybe 15 minutes or so. How do people get a hold of you, Brie?
My email is Brie, spelt like the cheese. Hopefully you like it. Brie at lakeliferealty.net, N-E-T. And my website, lakeliferealty.net.
Perfect. Excellent. And then, of course, always everyone who's listening, please hop on to iTunes, Stitcher, those platforms. Give us 5-star rating. If you like hearing interviews like you just heard with Brie, who is a rock star and amazing. We'll be definitely following her in the years to come when she has 7 agents and she's starting to take over the entire Northeast. Right? They'll love the big smile that you have on your face. You're like, yes, that sounds good. Always anybody, if you ever, what's that?
I'm all for that.
I love it. Yes. Anybody else who has any questions or want to reach out or check out any of our other previous episodes as well as this one, always check out eliterealestatesystems.com. I hope everybody out there listening is killing it and having a great second quarter. And I want to thank everyone for listening. Until next week, guys. Thanks.